Nijika and Ryo. We know this iconic duo are the backbone behind the now beloved Kessoku-pan. But have you ever wondered how these two met? Well, after digging Epigraph 2 out of my closet where it's been gathering dust, I figured it's finally time to dive into this exclusive manga. So let's head over to the first page. The opening panels of the manga drop us into the aftermath of a school festival performance from the character's second year of middle school. We pick up right after Ryo. This mysterious blue-haired solo bassist performed a set of obscure songs in front of the entire school. For the eagle-eyed viewer, this is actually the same performance Ryo referenced back in episode 10, when Bocchi was struggling with whether or not to perform at a school festival. Her statement of humming the entire audience like dropping a bunch of C4s or a random school in Shimokitazawa, sorry, I just love explosions, wasn't an exaggeration as the crowd didn't know how to respond. No one knew what the hell she was playing, and thus the entire stage was filled with awkward silence and heavy confusion. But in the middle of the confused audience was one girl who noticed and was amazed by this performance, Nijika Ijichi. For Nijika, that moment was unforgettable. She felt the unease in the room, felt how isolated Ryo must have been in that spotlight, completely misunderstood by her audience. That awkward silence left a deep impression on Nijika. It was the first time she really saw Ryo Yamada. Because in actuality, Nijika has always known Ryo, predating back to their grade school days. But from the looks of it, she only referred to her as just another classmate. In other words, an acquaintance, like most people I know in real life. After the performance, Ryo escaped from the venue and headed straight to the school rooftop, somewhere she could be alone and process what just happened. Tears started swelling in her eyes as she was confused, frustrated, and honestly a little heartbroken that no one understood her music, her performance that she poured her all into. Coming back to episode 10, we now know in greater depth why Ryo still has nightmares from that performance. It wasn't just stage fright, it was the shame, the isolation, the very real feeling of being outcasted simply for expressing herself. And in a way, that moment encapsulates a lot about Ryo's character. As seen with my Ryo character analysis, she deeply values individuality, but at the same time, she still longs to be recognized and respected. In other words, it's the Ryo way and not the normie highway. That internal conflict is a core part of who she is. Just as she's lost in that emotional spiral, someone approaches from behind. It's Nijika, like some kind angel descending from the heavens, well, technically ascending since she's climbing up the stairs, showing up at just the right moment. As I have mentioned, they've known each other since grade school, but seeing Ryo's performance showed a side to Nijika she had never seen before. The Ryo on stage felt different and unique. It was raw, vulnerable, and most importantly, authentic. Catching Ryo tearing up also showed Nijika, who always had an impression on her as confident, that she also possessed a sensitive and caring side. Ryo tries to play it off, brushing it aside and tells Nijika it's nothing, but of course, Nijika sees through it. This small moment in a random school rooftop would begin the connection between these two and the start of something that would eventually lead to the formation of Kessoku-pan. Now, I do want to give a short tangent that this is technically the first official manga chapter from the franchise where Nijika's point of view is at full swing, well, to the best of my knowledge as an anime only. And boy oh boy, does it make Nijika even more peaked than ever. We love you, Sayumin! We love you, Nijika! Oh, I forgot to take my pills! From this chapter alone, we can see from early on her observant and thoughtful side. After noticing a side of Ryo that most don't associate her with, Nijika not only acknowledges it, but responds to it. She tries to comfort Ryo, reassure her, and give her the kind of understanding that no one else at school ever did. That's what I'm talking about! That's why she's the everything! She's the As a fellow musician, she also recognized the time and effort Ryo poured into practicing for that performance and told her this. Even if the audience didn't get it, she did. And then in a moment that really hits, she says she respects Ryo for it when no one else in school would. That small act of validation meant everything to Ryo. And you know what Ryo said next? So the rest of the world just isn't ready for me yet. Oh Ryo, you're always like this, huh? Despite the sudden comedic line, it says a lot. Ryo wants to be respected. She wants to be understood, but on her own terms. That moment gives Nijika a peek at the more expressive, maybe even idealistic side of Ryo. And then she opens up about her being a drummer, and their conversation as two musicians began. Nijika, being the paragon of human virtue, stays modest about her drumming. She doesn't brag or make it a big deal, just casually mentions it like it's nothing special. Ryo, now genuinely curious, expresses interest in hearing Nijika play someday. It's a small line, but a telling one. It shows that Ryo respects Nijika just as much as Nijika respects her. But here comes a key turning point. As most of us are aware, part of Nijika's dream is to start a band. So she tries to recruit Ryo right then and there. You can feel the spark. She sees potential in Ryo, not just as a musician, but as someone she genuinely wants to connect with and build something alongside. But just as she was about to ask, Ryo casually brings up that she's already in a band. And not just that, she kind of flexes it, showing off what her current band, the Hamokitasu, is doing. Now here's where Nijika's kindness really shines. Instead of pushing her own plans or trying to convince Ryo otherwise, she lets go, for now at least. She doesn't guilt trip or pressure her. She simply says she'll support Ryo's band, promising to listen to their music online and even come to see them live. Nijika proves she's not the type to use people as a means to an end. She respects Ryo's path and offers nothing but genuine support. Still though, nothing wrong with wanting to get close as a friend, right? Or even as a lover. Wait, what the Yuri? As you can tell, Nijika wants to form a true connection with Ryo. Maybe it was something in her playing that intrigued her. Or maybe she just had a feeling they'd vibe together. It could be the extrovert in her or that quiet assertiveness she shows when something really means to her. She asks Ryo if they wanna hang out on the weekend. And in true Ryo fashion, she agrees. On one condition. Nijika has to pay for everything. Maybe I should be like Ryo whenever a fan asks to meet up with me. What follows next is a series of montage-style panels showing Ryo and Nijika starting to spend more time together. Little by little, their bond grows, not just from music, but from genuine friendship. They hang out more, discover shared interests, and just click in that effortlessly natural way. There's even a fun little Easter egg in one of the panels. A quick cameo of Bocchi. One of her Guitar Hero videos shows up on Nijika's phone screen, hinting at what the future may hold. Oh, Nijika, get ready to play alongside Guitar Hero herself. But spoiler alert, she glitches sometimes. We see Ryo and Nijika studying together, eating out, just living everyday moments as friends. And also Nijika kept her promise and became a regular attendee whenever Ryo performed live with her band. In one of these live shows, we even get a glimpse of the sun that can cause severe blindness. Kita in the crowd. I think this is the moment we see in episode 3 where she saw Ryo for the first time and became gay. Then we have an internal monologue from Nijika. She admits to still wanting Ryo to be in a band with her. It was not just for the music, but because of how Ryo made her feel the first time she saw her perform at the school festival. There was something captivating about it. Something beautiful. Ryo performed with this aura of individuality, like she existed in her own little world. And that version of her, that confident, expressive self, was the version Nijika fell in love with. But still, she never forces it. She knows Ryo is passionate about her current band. And every time Nijika watches her perform with them, she's in awe. It's like seeing Ryo in her purest form, unfiltered, confident, and unapologetically herself. So all Nijika could do is support her wholeheartedly. Even if Ryo isn't in a band with her, she continues to cheer her on from the sidelines. Because sometimes, loving someone's uniqueness means not pulling them away from where they're thriving. I also like to point out what we can learn from Ryo. She is a prime example of just being herself, which can be really difficult. But if Nijika fell in love with Ryo's authenticity, then I'm sure someone out there can love you just the way you are, you schizophrenic anime otaku who has a body pillow collection. The following page is a time skip, months or maybe years after the previous page. We see Ryo again on the school rooftop, but this time the atmosphere is grim and moody. On closer inspection, this is most probably the flashback in episode 4, where Ryo just broke her ties with her band. I find the setting to be quite poetic. It's the same setting where she and Nijika connected. Back then, Ryo was crying for being misunderstood, and now she's lost in thought on what to do next. This place has become a space for Ryo to reflect, especially in moments of emotional transition. Nijika approaches her again and gently asks if she's really leaving her band. She's calm, but you can tell there's concern underneath the surface. Ryo doesn't sugarcoat her answer. She simply replies, cold and direct. Yes. No explanation, no excuses, just a blunt confirmation. We can tell that Ryo isn't the type to vocalize her reasons, especially when they're emotionally complicated. Nijika then asks the real question. Are you gonna quit playing music? And with that, we get a glimpse of just how heavy Ryo's decision really is. Leaving the band wasn't just a clean break. It was painful, complicated. We see this reflected later in the songs Anobando and Planet, where Ryo quietly processes the fallout due to her bandmates sacrificing individuality. Back to episode 4, she states that the reason she stuck with her now previous band was because despite the awkward lyrics of their songs, they were brutally honest, which by now is an established pillar of Ryo's character. That individuality individuality disappeared in desperation for more sales and success, it's clear that she didn't walk away unscathed. There's also this unspoken fear in her. Maybe she wasn't made to do music after all. Maybe that was it. Maybe it's over. And that hits. It's a kind of emotional spiral so many people go through, whether it's a failed group project, a friendship, or some creative pursuit you poured yourself into. When it breaks down, it's easy to think, maybe I just quit entirely. That's where Ryo is. She feels betrayed, devastated, and genuinely considers giving up music for good. But Nijika doesn't let her sink into that mindset. She snaps, she shouts, not out of anger, but of desperation. Nijika pleads with her, not as someone trying to start a band, but as a friend who's watched her pour her soul into this for years. We also see another layer of Nijika's support for Ryo. Not only was she present in all of their live performances, but she also covered Ryo's quotas. Damn, friendship goals. Because for Nijika, supporting Ryo was never about convenience. It was about believing in her. And that belief doesn't just disappear. Ryo then tries to build up a wall between her and Nijika, trying to shut her out. She insists it's none of Nijika's business. But Nijika fires back. It absolutely is her business. Not just because she spent a lot on Ryo with her wallet, but because she's Ryo's closest friend. And seeing someone you care about try to abandon the thing they love, that hits too close to home to stay silent. Ryo gives a half-hearted excuse. She says she's just going to focus on her studies now. But Nijika knows her too well. That's not what Ryo wants. That's not where her heart is. And Nijika's not letting her walk away from it that easily. Nijika knows that if Ryo walks away from music entirely, it's not just about quitting a band. It's about cutting off a part of herself. And that's not something Nijika would allow to happen. We know what happens next. Exactly the scene from episode 4. Nijika takes her chance after waiting all this time. If you got time, will you play bass for me? And the rest, as they say, is history. Now, I am low-key amazed on how these 8 pages can add so much more depth to Nijika and Ryo. It truly cements how deep the bond is between these two. It's also the first ever official Nijika point of view manga chapter, again with my limited knowledge, which is huge because it gives us such a rich look at her inner world. It adds so much to her character. Nijika has always been the glue of the group, the heart that quietly keeps everything running. But here, we see how much thought and compassion she carries behind the scenes. So I'm on my knees, Hamazi-sensei. Give us more Nijika point of view chapters. I fell in love with Nijika more from this. And it's not just Nijika. Ryo's best traits are also on full display here. Her vulnerability, her emotional complexity, and the quiet yearning to be respected without sacrificing her individuality. It hits so hard. We also got to see how these two developed back then. In the anime, the main focus for character growth were Bocchi and Kita. So this chapter gave us a glimpse how these two grew and matured before the events of the anime. So yeah, this chapter was special. A beautiful break from the usual structure, a chance to deepen character bonds, a love letter to fans who've always wanted more from Nijika and Ryo. But wait, you may be asking about the other two. Well, I might as well try to break down Epigraph 1 in a future video. Like and subscribe to be the first to see it. And thank you so much for watching this video. It was quite fun going for a simpler video breaking down a manga chapter. Who knows, I might do more of this in the future. Shout out to the channel members for the endless support and for you, the viewer, for watching this video till the end. Okay, off I go.